Some call me Steve, Dad, husband, or friend. Others might call me boss, coach, or mentor. Today you can call me the Leadership Hacker. Thanks for listening in, I really appreciate it. My job as the Leadership Hacker is to hack into the minds, experiences, habits and learning of great leaders, C-suite executives, authors and development experts so that I can assist you developing your understanding and awareness of leadership. I'm Steve Rush and I'm your host today. I'm the author of Leadership Cake, I'm a transformation consultant and leadership coach and can't wait to start sharing all things leadership with you.
Today's special guest is Dr. Bob Nelson. He's the world's leading authority on employee recognition, motivation and engagement. Dr. Bob has authored over 30 books which have collectively sold over 5 million copies. Before we get a chance to speak with Bob, it's the Leadership Hacker News. In the news today, we're going to explore how social media can really make a difference to any business of any kind, anywhere. So we're going to look at a fast food joint went from a local eatery to internet stardom thanks to iconic memes and a catchy theme tune. Now this is a story of Bingley Mega Chippy. Now for those that are in North America and around the world, a chip shop in England is a place where you go to buy French fries and fast food. It started out as an unassuming local fast food joint and it's now arguably the most famous fast food joint on the planet. For years it was just like any other English eatery, serving French fries, chips, fish and of course other really unhealthy deep fried foods. It's not particularly attractive to look at. It's a vision of red and gold, but it's a reliable oasis to many people in and around Coventry. But the internet's taken Bingley Mega Chippy and turned it into a TikTok fiesta for culinary destination for anybody visiting this part of England. Owner Kamal Gandhi, 70 years old, now has a huge number of customers, some of who have apparently travelled from as far as France, America and even Australia. So how did this local chip shop go from a small fry to a huge gastronomic location of choice? Well, the first mention of Bingley Mega Chippy hit the internet in just 2009, and it was a simple kind of nod to here's where we are and what we do. Fast forward to 2022, Bingley Mega Chippy began to appear, but still continued on relative obscurity, not knowing what's to come. Viral hysteria hit the fast food outlet in 2022 when it featured in a slideshow of multiple UK fast food joints in TikTok in April. Its first month there were 82,000 views and 11,000 likes. Fast forward now, millions and millions of people are using this as a backdrop to other memes and are joining in with the chant of the song. Decades of research and millions of dollars and pounds of advertising have shown that society loves a good jingle and it helps sell a product. And the same appears to be true for fast food outlets. On the 25th of May, Bingley Mega Chippy Fan 53 posted just a 10-second clip with a static picture with a Bingley Mega Chippy jingle. Now, for obvious marketing reasons, I'm not able to play that for you now. I'm sure you can find it if you choose to. That short clip now has just over 2 million views and has spawned various spin-offs and remixes. And now, hashtag Bingley Mega Chippy has over 500 million views. And naturally people have been visiting it from all over. So, having fun, bit of jingle, the power of the internet can change the lives of anyone. And good luck to Kamal Gandhi and his store. Wish him all the success. The leadership hack here is, marketing could be as simple as a 10-second clip. It could be something that you say and do. What makes a difference is that emotional connection. So the next time you're communicating a message or you're building a story or you're creating an internal marketing campaign or external, is it going to hit those real emotional keys to get people stirred into emotional action? That's been Leadership Hacker News. Let's dive into the show.
Dr. Bob Nelson is a special guest on today's show. He's a multi-million bestseller author of 1001 Ways to Engage Employees. In his latest book, Work Made Fun Gets Done, he's also the president of Nelson Motivation Inc., one of the world's leading authorities on employee recognition and engagement. And Bob's published over 31 books and sold over 5 million copies and been translated in over 30 languages. Dr. Bob, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
I'm really looking forward to getting into this because I remember the first time you and I met when you also then started to think about there's over 15,000 ways to reward employees and over 1,001 ways to engage employees. It was a bit of a kind of a journey for me to get my head around those numbers. So I'm delighted that we get a chance to dive into some of them, not all of them today.
Excellent.
Before we do that, Bob, let's give our listeners a little bit of a backstory, if you like, on the journey that is taking you to where you are today.
Well. I've always been a writer. And going back to high school, I remember my English teacher passing out papers, and she stopped at my desk, and overhead, she weighed my paper. It said, best paper in 5 classes. And I was kind of embarrassed and surprised, and went back and reread it, and I just got the message that I could write, and so that's always been a backdrop for me. And I published my first book when I was 21, a guide on job hunting, and have just recently finished my 31st book. So it's a hard activity, but I somehow keep coming back to it. I guess like a moth to a flame.
Yeah. And do you think that moment in that English class when that teacher kind of gave you that feedback at that time, do you think that was a catalyst for you at that point?
Well, it's certainly anytime someone gives you feedback, I think we all need to see how other people see us, and it's if it's in a positive light, then that's good news. You need to hold on to that one, and I think life. John Lennon said, "Life's what happens when you're making other plans." So you got to work into the plans what people tell you you're good at, and then of course things that you enjoy doing is important as well. So
yeah.
I think finding one's career is. Mark Twain said the 2 most important days in anyone's life is the day they're born, and then secondly, the day they find out why. So
That's
I
great. Yeah.
think it's an ongoing journey for each of us to say, what was I meant to be here for? And if you get clues from those around you who give you feedback, you need to hold on to those and listen to those. And so I feel fortunate for the career I've had. I've been blessed with having worked with some true experts, each of which I've learned from. But Ken Blanchard, I went to work for. He published the 1 Minute Manager, which has sold 14 million copies, and so I learned a lot from him about selling books, and I got my PhD from working with Peter Drucker, the father of modern management.
Yeah.
And I'm currently a personal coach for Marshall Goldsmith, who's the #1 voted executive coach in the world.
That's right.
So
yeah.
I've been very, very blessed to have some great people to learn from and lean on, and that I like passing it on to others when I can.
Yeah, and we're going to pass that on for sure today. I heard something that I probably read it. You'd coached or had worked with something like 80% of the Fortune 500 companies. Is that right?
I have, yes.
Wow.
And over spanning 25 years, you
Yeah.
you get around, and that included, I did just not that long ago wrapped up a 6-month project working for the United Nations. So that was a fun activity. So life takes you in a lot of interesting places, and if you can go for the ride, it's usually pretty enticing.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
I found anyway.
Yeah, definitely so. So you've managed to find a real niche or a passion, if you like, for employee recognition and engagement. What was that defining moment for you when you realized actually this is the thing that really excites you and makes you tick and others tick as well?
Well, again, to me, it's piecing together the pieces. I was taking a graduate school class, and we were talking about, it was a control systems class, and the professor was talking about the informal control systems, and he made the offhand comment that has proven is the principle for informal reinforcement is there hasn't been a lot of application in the business world. And I remember thinking, I'm going to do something about that. And actually, that evening after my hour and a half drive home from graduate school class in Los Angeles, I typed out a letter to president of a publishing firm in New York City and sent it overnight and spent 2 weeks trying to get him on the phone. And finally, I could hear his assistant say, "This guy keeps calling. Would you talk to him?" and literally the president of the company goes, "What do you want?" Answers the phone like that. And I said, "Well, this is my name, and I sent you a letter about a book." And he cut me off. He said, "You sent us a letter about a book? We'll never do a book based on a letter you sent us. You have to do a proposal for of the 70,000 books that are published that year anyway. Why yours has to be one of them, and why we're the only publisher who could possibly do it right." And literally as he's hanging up, he goes, "And by the way, we get 10,000 proposals a year. We publish 24 books." Click. and
Nice.
I could have said, well, gave it a try, but I said, "Hey, game on, time to do a proposal." So maybe there's a lesson there, don't accept defeat.
Did you go back to this guy though?
I did actually. I did
Yeah.
the proposal. I got an agent, and then next time I met with him, I was sitting across from him. Though I flew to New York at my own expense, and he had the proposal in front of him, and he opened it up, and my agent had said, "Well, it'd be helpful if you could lay out a few pages so what it was actually look like." I go, "Well, I explained it. That should be good enough." No, it would be help people visualize it. So I did that, and then she said, "Well, could you do a few more?" I go, "Oh, come on!" And so I did a few more, and darn if when I'm sitting across from him, he doesn't open the proposal to those pages, and he goes, "This could work." The guy was very visual.
Yeah.
Peter Workman was his name. He's a creative genius, and he only did books that where he personally saw that it could work. Didn't care your background, didn't care the idea. Does he see it? Does he see what you see? And so now he's sold on the project. He still doesn't know about me.
Yeah.
And so he turns his attention to me and starts asking me questions. I go, "Well, I'm an administrator for this company in San Diego, but that's not what I really want to do." And he goes, "What do you really want to do?" And I said, "Be a best-selling author." And I could see a little twinkle in his eye, and done deal. And that was
And the
we went
rest is
forward
history.
from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sent me to 27 markets at a time when that wasn't really done anymore. And in the first, I think in the first 2 months, the book sold 40,000 copies.
Wow.
Which is stunning, and as a business book, and now it's in its 64th printing, has sold over 2 million copies.
That's amazing.
So, so it's a lot of people ask me about the book story, because there's a lot of books out there. Over 1 million books are published a year now. When this book came out, 70,000. Now it's 1 million books a year are published each year. And that's with self-publishing and Amazon and you name it. And there's not more readers, but there's a lot more books.
Yeah.
So,
and there's still an opportunity for the same folk to, face into the resilience you did, get in front of people and say, "Look, if you've got a compelling story, let's just tell it," because there will be people who want to read and listen.
Yes, it's definitely more difficult because it's more constrained, and for a typical publisher, the first thing they want to know is, what's your platform? What vehicle do you have to reach people? In terms of number of followers, and or do you speak? Do you do public speaking, or are you in media? Are you on TV every night? All that kind of goes in the mix, and as a result, just a few books get published.
I remember when I published my book, which was probably about 6 years ago, having the same conversation with an agent, and at the time I was starting out on my entrepreneurial career, or a few years into it, and having this kind of light bulb moment that felt, I'm not worthy because I haven't got a million followers on Instagram, and I haven't got all of this. But what I had was something that was interesting. Yeah.
Imposter syndrome.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, you gotta trust your gut. And I think my moment of doubt was so I knew I could write, but then my trying to understand my motivations for writing, that actually that cost me a couple years because I couldn't had a hard time sorting why do you want to do this? Is it to make money, is it for fame, is it to help people? And that really had me in a bind trying to sort that. And finally I decided it's for all those reasons.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to help people, but yes, if I make money from it, I could help more people because I could, get the book a wider audience. And that's so I've never quite looked back from that point. Have done, like I said, I've done 31 books, and each one writing is difficult. It's very hard. It's exposing your mental thoughts to the world, and man, you better be braced to take the feedback. And and so but I've had good success, and I love helping other people with the same journey, because there are a lot of good messages to go out there, and a lot of messages that could help others. And if you have one like that, you deserve to be in print.
Very much so, yeah. And then your last book, Work Made Fun Gets Done. It's one of those titles that when you read it, you go, yeah, that's absolutely true. Of course it is. And everybody buys into it. Yet we also find that doesn't happen everywhere, and that some people go to work and it's not fun.
Well, most people actually.
What did you find out in your research?
I find so my books, I tend to favor kind of proven truths, or maybe obvious truths that yet are not obvious in practice. And so the latest book, Work Made Fun Gets Done, is one of those. It's part of the mix on having motivated employees and staying with the job over time. And the younger employees, 59% of millennials say they want to have fun at work. So as more and more workers are from that age group, almost 75% now, it's a topic you've got to take seriously as a company. What are we doing to make sure that people are having fun while at work? Now, if you're a cynical or old line manager, the answer's simple. Go, hey, here's an idea. They can worry about that on the weekend. We're paying them to work, goddammit. And so
yeah. There's still a lot of those around, unfortunately.
Yes, there are. And so you got to say, well, I can see where you would think that, and that makes a lot of sense. But let me tell you, have you looked at your exit interviews, why people are leaving? Or let me tell you, on the positive side, let me tell you, for this book, we did research. We looked at the 100 best places to work in America, and we dug in their data. We found that one of the variables they ask about is this a fun place to work? And for those companies that work for one of the 100 best companies to work for in America, 82% of their employees, when surveyed, said that where they work is a fun work environment. And we contrast that to those companies that applied for that award but didn't receive it. Only 61% said it was a fun place to work. That 20-point differential was actually one of the largest in their database on sorting successful companies from also ran. So if you want to look at the positive data that supports making fun a serious part of your business, it's there. And that's why a lot of companies have even made it a core value of their firm. Like Best Buy, it's their number one core value is have fun while being the best. Or JetBlue, number 4. LinkedIn, number 6. Mercedes-Benz, number 3. So it's Workday, number 5. So it's not everybody, but a lot of companies are staking it out, saying yes, we agree. This should be a core value for what we do every day. And if we do that well, then guess what? People will pass it on to the customer and to their colleagues, and it'll be easier to come to work because you're enjoying who you're working with and who you're serving, and just everything will go more swimmingly. So it's a simple thing, but not common sense, not common practice. An observation first made by Voltaire in 1640. Those things that are common sense are not very common, he said.
Yeah.
And hey,
Wise words, eh?
still true,
Goodness
still
me.
true today. So
And there's also a direct correlation to revenue here as well, isn't there? So the companies you just mentioned are all profitable or high revenue generative businesses.
yes, yes, they are. And so it's a flip side of, if work is fun, it's going to be more profitable. If it's more profitable, then of course it's more fun, and we're able to pay people better and have better benefits. And so it's kind of a chicken and egg type thing. I know what comes first. We think that just make sure it's part of the mix. It doesn't have to, you don't have to start with that, but and increasingly we share stories in the book about how people found their way to this. Like the president of Belmont College in Nashville, Tennessee, he did a year sabbatical where he examined high performing companies, and he came back and he said number one thing he learned is that every place he examined, high performance companies, they were all fun places. And so he said, we got to have more fun here. And he immediately created a fun committee and volunteers and charged them with to do fun things, find out what needs to be celebrated and work it into our culture so had a group and focused on that, maybe gave them some budget, and when there was a time, the morale is low, or we have good news to celebrate. Let's do that very well. Let's do it as a group. Let's do it as a team. Let's do it individually, and that's what they do. I'll tell you another company. I was in Seattle years ago. I was presenting to 800 people, and this person in the front row, I go, "You look really familiar." And she goes, "Yeah, I met you 6 weeks ago when you were speaking here before. I'm back in Seattle again after 6 weeks, and I had to come tell you what happened." I go, "Well, tell me what happened." And she worked for a company. She said, I left your presentation with one thing in mind. I said, "This is real. It's happening. I'm going to do it. I'm not asking permission. I'm doing it because I believe in it." And that's what she did. I said, "Well, what'd you do?" She goes, "I did a bunch of stuff. Like I created a happiness committee in my department, and it had 3 members of it. No one knew who they were, but any one of them could say it's time to do something." I go, "Well, something like what?" She goes, "Well, we held a picnic up on the roof in downtown Seattle to celebrate, or we bartered meeting space with a company on the next block that was a limo company. So now we have limo rides we can give people for letting them meet in our meeting space once a month, and on and on. They just didn't start with a big budget, started with some creativity and some fun, well, what difference did it make?" And she goes, "It had a stunning difference. People could see it. It changed how they came to work." And she said, "I had other managers saying, 'What are you doing in your department? Your people are so excited. You're on fire.' Goes, 'Hey, come to the next meeting. We're not having any secrets here.'" And it just grew organically. And and now she's giving me part of the story. So I went back and I wrote it up and I put it in the press. So now I'm getting external validation for what she's doing internally. Well, fast forward 18 months from that first day I met that woman, that company, Perkins Coie, a law firm of all things, entered the best places to work in America, number 23 on the list.
Amazing.
I would contend from one person standing up, not at the top. Sometimes we feel that only the CEO can make a difference, but in the middle. She was a finance manager in one department, and I would suggest that she personally converted that culture and made it more recognition savvy, where people felt more valued for the work they were doing every day. Anyone listening can make that same thing happen where you work.
Great story.
You could light the fuse. It doesn't have to all be on you, but you can get it going and get going in your walk, in your realm of influence, of whatever position you have, and invite other people on board, and you can make something happen.
It's because fun is infectious. So too is misery, by the way. And I suspect, that's why, you get that dichotomy between different firms, different teams, and in different organizations. But if you were giving some advice to our listeners today who may be thinking around, I want to take some of this fun and energy and ideas forward, but I know that I'm going to bump into maybe a stuffy boss or a stuffy culture. How would you think would be the best way to maybe break into that?
One or two approaches: either ignore that and make it happen anyway for the people that are interested. So even if the boss isn't interested, get it going with others. Or the second thing is make a personal appeal to your boss and say, this is why I like to do it, or why we should do it, and try to sell them on being on board. Or let's try it. Let's try it for a month. Let's try it for 3 months. Let's do a pilot program. Because I think, for example, that if we did this, it would impact our turnover rate, which it will, by the way.
Yeah.
If you create a culture of recognition where people are valued for what they're doing, research indicates you will be 7 times more likely to hold on to your people if they feel they're in an environment where people are celebrated and thanked for doing a good job. As simple as that. 7 times for their career, by the way, not just for another 6 months, another year, that they will, once they feel that, they will want to stay working for your company for their career. So that's the price of admission right there. Right now, we're in the midst of the great resignation, where, at least in America, 4.5 million people a month are leaving their positions. This has been for the last 18 months straight. 4.5 million a month are leaving their positions. And often they find another position, and now they're leaving that one. So because they're in search of a place that, the pandemic taught us anything. It's like, life is short and unpredictable. You better have a good job now. Better enjoy what you're doing now. So maybe what a lot of them realize that what they're doing, it's not worth what they're being paid for, and they're not getting any joy from it, and they hate their job, they hate their boss, and time to go to seek out something that's more meaningful to them, that gives them, makes them feel they're part of something larger than themselves, where they can have pride in working there and enjoy the people they're working with and who they're serving. Those jobs are out there, and they're plentiful. And so if you hold your sights to that type of standard, you will find it. Of course, you have to have the skill set. So it's a mix. Clarity of purpose and mission. But I know people, for example, like I worked with Walt Disney World for 15 years, and I met people that moved to Orlando, Florida, because they had to work with this company, had to work for this company. And they got there and they didn't care what the job was. They had to be a part of this organization. They'll pick up trash in the park,
Right.
But, and maybe they started there, but they quickly moved on up. And man, oh man, because people are treated right, and then they blossom, and then you get more of them and their best thinking, and then all of a sudden you got a career. So it can be frustrating for people that feel that they're in a dead end position, or a position they don't enjoy. How do I get to a different area from where I'm at? But maybe that starts in the current job you have.
Right.
Maybe look at that differently, and how can you? Because you can, a lot of times you can get to the job you want starting with the one you have, and start to ask for responsibilities, or make it known what things you're interested in doing, and that might be a selection for responsibilities and assignments. Especially for a small company, they need people to wear many hats, and so there's more flexibility and variety that you can help morph your job towards what you want to be doing.
Yeah, you mentioned reward and recognition as being a key component of that fun, and you cited that law firm's growth was one of the reasons that they focused on, was kind of how they step into recognition. And when you think of the subject and the notion of recognition, most organizations typically have a recognition program, which could have, e-cards and buttons and gifts and
yes, years of service awards.
But it's way more than that, right?
Yeah. Well, it's but often they're doing stuff, but it's not the stuff that matters to people.
Right.
So I've never met an employee that stayed another day at work to get their 10-year pin. It's sort of like it's so along the way, the topic was started in the incentive industry with people trying to move merchandise, and this is another way, if we can get people to buy gifts for employees, and we'll sell a lot more merchandise. And that's kind of how the market started. And for many companies, that's where it ended too. So it never really got to the motivations. It got to, hey, you get stuff, and it becomes really a money substitute to get points or gift cards to be thanked for a job well done. So that's fine, but that's a limited view on this topic, because I tend to find that the most powerful motivators are things that don't cost money at all.
Yeah.
So a personal thank you, or being part of a team, or being asked your opinion, being allowed to pursue an idea you have, being thanked certainly when you do a good job, or for helping someone else. And if you make a mistake, it's easy to criticize someone that makes a mistake. They already usually know they did something wrong. Why don't you embrace it and say, hey, what did you learn from that? That's the more important thing here. And take the long-term view of the relationship instead of being critical in the short term, be supportive in the long term. Bill Gates, former chairman of Microsoft, he once said, you could tell a lot about the long-term viability of any organization simply by looking at how they handle mistakes.
Yeah.
Because if you embarrass people and in front of their peers and make them want to quit, they probably will. and yet it's an opportunity to take a long-term view and to say we're bigger than that. And that's good news. You made that mistake, because that's the best training you'll have all year. I'm glad you made it.
Yeah.
And see what else other people can learn from it. So a fundamental difference in a simple choice that comes up daily, really.
Culture plays a massive part in this. And I think what I heard you talk about directly and indirectly was those organizations who have fun embedded into their values, embedded into their culture, their employer brand, have a better chance at not only acquisition, but also retention.
Yes. And they got to they didn't start with that. Maybe they put it on the table as a core value, but it's working the value to say, what does that look like in practice? And if we were having more fun, how would things be different? And maybe it's like, well, maybe upper management would be more involved. I worked with, in California, the pension fund, teachers pension fund of California, which is a $9 trillion fund. Yeah. And they brought me in consult, and sure enough, they had very little recognition. And when I brought the topic up, they go, oh no, we can't do that stuff because, we're a public entity. I go, really? That's what's holding you back from doing the right thing? Yes, it is. We got to think about something we might end up in the front in the headlines of the newspaper, and that will not be appropriate. Our fiduciary responsibilities. I go, well, just hold on a minute. What if I brought you a list of other federal, state, and local governments that are doing this type of stuff? What exactly they're doing? The legislative authority they have to do it, and the contact information. And they go, that would be very interesting. And I created that. It's like a 20-page list, and they took it into a board meeting. They came out and they said, we're doing it.
Good.
And they started investing in low-cost ways to thank people. In fact, one of the first things they did out of the chute, this is a state government. Okay, they decided to make a music video that they had their senior managers all sign up to be in a music video to talk about the changes they're making in the direction of the firm. It was an enormous hit, because people saw that their leadership was coming, was now a part of them and helping lead the charge. And it was very exciting, and it was very fun.
It is often a mindset shift for some of the senior executives in these firms and organizations, isn't it?
It has to be. It has to be, yeah. So it's okay if you're not comfortable with something, but if you have the logic, if you have the data, especially if you have the data from your own employees, where why they're leaving or what would make them stay. Right now one of the big things is on flexible working hours and ability to work from home. God, we've got enormous data on this. 36% of employees said they would skip a pay increase if they'd have the ongoing flexibility to work from home. 40% said you can give them a pay cut if they if you give them the flexibility and the time to work from home, because because that's more enjoyable to them. It's more convenient for their life. That not even counting the commute time, the hour or 2 hours or 3 hours that they have to waste a day to get to a central office and to get ready for that. And besides saving that time, they've got more control over their life, and they can work into and you want the data. It's like overwhelmingly people that are allowed to work from home are more productive. And I've tracked this with my own employees. I had people log their time. It turned out to be twice as productive. I could see the results they got because they weren't interrupted. There wasn't the socializing, that they were able to dig in further and get more done. And so it all makes sense. What holds a lot of companies back is senior managers saying, well, that's not what I'm used to, or if I can't see them, I don't know they're working, or the CEO of JP Morgan in New York City finance firm said, if you can go out to dinner in New York City, you can come to the office and work in New York City. So, okay, well, that's a point, narrow-minded a point, but I guess if you pay people enough, you can force them to do anything. And so, but over 4.5 million people moved out of New York City during the pandemic because because when we shifted to allowing people to work from home, if all of a sudden they didn't have to be in New York City anymore, so they went to work in a smaller town or where their family's from, and a lot of Zoom towns popped up, where people preferred to live. If they can live anywhere, they're gonna go live in Bend, Oregon. They're gonna live in in places that they can enjoy living more. They can work from anywhere. And people are holding on to that. 65% of employees that had a chance to work from home during the pandemic said they want to continue that flexibility. It worked better for them. It was more productive. And if they're forced to come in, which is kind of the dance we're in right now, where companies are saying, no, you have to come back to the office. Fortunately, only 4% of companies have said everyone has to come back 5 days a week. But, half the people say you have to come back, at least 3 days a week. And the other half have more flexibility. So my wife's a virtual employee. She has to come in 1 day a week, and that's kind of borderline for her. She does it begrudgingly the whole time. She's kind of swearing on the commute, but 1 day a week is, that'll work. If they increase that, she will definitely quit. I was surprised that she stayed just for that, because you get another virtual job, and we've already proved it works.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's like, why we don't need to keep proving it works. We know it works, and we can make excuses why you can't be as collaborative. Maybe make some adjustments to be more collaborative, So I don't. Anyway, we're still on the journey on that one, and again, fun would be part of that. Recognition would be part of that. And or what I find is like, say, well, we're on Zoom calls now. How can you, we can't do recognition. Oh, yes, you can. Come on. Next Zoom call you have, before we get in our agenda, I like to just take a few minutes and go around the group. And as I call out someone's name, I like everyone else to say what they most value about working with that person. Let's start with John. Okay, now Mary. Now Sally. And 10 minutes later, where are you? Everyone's gotten personal feedback about what the people they work with most closely think most highly of what they do and their work they contribute. Well, that's pretty powerful. Make people feel great about the job they're doing. I guarantee you that whatever they're called out for, they're going to do more of that same thing, because what gets recognized gets repeated. So it's a universal rule, and then you're gonna, the group's gonna be a tighter working unit, because they now have insights into each other, and they know. So it's gonna be more of a team going forward. So you could do that in 10 minutes on a Zoom call. It's I call it a praise barrage. You just take time, and we're just gonna focus on praise. No negative feedback, just praise. Just thanks and praise from open mic, from employees to other employees. Very powerful, very simple.
Very much so. So we're going to turn the tables a little bit now. We're going to start to hack into your mind now. Of the 31 books and the 1001 ways to engage employees, we're going to try and distill all of that down now into the top 3 leadership hacks that you can share, what would they be, Bob?
There you go. Okay. Well, here goes. I'd say all motivation starts with the person. So ask them what motivates them. Don't try to guess. Don't try to just ask them. Ask them individually or as a group would be the first thing. So again, my advice I'm going to give you is going to be very simple because this is what I swim in. So ask the questions, take the answers seriously, do the top one or two things that they mention. So today that might be, and managers often are scared to do this because they say, well, when people are going to say they want more money, well, maybe they will. And, is that valid? Then maybe they should be paid more. I don't know. But more times than not, I find that the things that come up do not involve money, but being thanked by someone they hold in high esteem, by their manager or upper manager. As I indicated, being involved in a decision, especially one that affects them. 89% of employees say they'd like to have that. 92% say they'd like to be asked for their ideas and suggestions. And if they have a good idea, given autonomy and authority to pursue it. So again, from my research and application of these concepts, most of the things that come up, surprisingly, amazingly, delightfully, don't cost money to implement. It just a little bit, behavior. So a little bit of insight, a little bit of thoughtfulness,
Right.
and then actually doing it. So it's not good enough to know you should do it. You got to actually do it in your practices, in your daily regimen as a leader. So ask, prioritize, and do. That'd be the three I would say.
And it sounds so simple, but we get caught up in our busy worlds, and it's just one of those things that we don't pay attention enough to. So I love that. Great stuff.
Yes.
The next part of the show, we call it Hack to Attack. So this is typically where something in your life or work has not worked out as you'd planned, might have been quite catastrophic at the time, but as a result, you've learned from it, and it now serves you well. What would be your hack to attack?
Well, I'd say not just me, for a lot of people, switching gears and tack and what you're doing when something's not working. So the pandemic changed work for a lot of people. I was making my living, probably 90% of my revenue was from physically speaking at conferences and traveling to work with companies, and that kind of all stopped overnight, actually. And so
Right.
I go, well, okay, I can either, so I pivoted to do, other things and to do things that were not in person. So a lot of that's virtual. So I've done a lot of webinars, and I've been doing more consulting. So, I think pivoting would be my recommendation. When something's not working, try something else, and if that works a little better, then do more of that. My personal strategy over the last 30 years has been, if I've got 3 or 4 or 5 strategies in play, then 2 or 3 are going to pay out, and that has happened in my career. So that I think I think that can and could work for anyone. That if whatever you're doing right now isn't working for whatever reason, you could fight that and fight that, or you can change and modify and pivot and try something different, or maybe build off of what you're doing, do something different, and then if you try different things, one's probably gonna work better than another. So there you get your own feedback right there. We'll take you in that direction.
Yeah. Paying attention to oneself is really important. You're often the barometer of those decisions, but we sometimes get a bit stubborn when it comes to ourselves.
Yeah, and it's easy to say, well, this should work. It worked before. Well, okay, times changed somehow, and for whatever reason, it's not working now. So you could sit in that state for a long time, and you can begrudge why the world has changed, or you can change with it. I'm for more taking positive action to make your life better.
So the last part of the show, Bob, we get to give you a chance now to do a bit of time travel. You get to bump into Bob, who wasn't a doctor at the time, at 21, and give them some advice, what would it be?
I would say I would double down more on my instincts. So which I think is good advice all the time, to trust one's instincts, but you know, a lot of times we don't, because we feel, well, we don't know much about this topic, or, you know, and so we override our instincts, even though our gut tells you this doesn't seem like a good person to work with, or this doesn't seem like, you know, we stick with it. And I would trust my instincts more,
Yeah.
you know, because when I've had those, they've been good. And I would have gotten even better results had I done more of that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Awesome.
Open myself up to you there.
Thank you for that, Bob. Appreciate it. So we're coming to the kind of top of our show now. And I think it's really important that we allow all our listeners to tap into some of the fun and energy that you bring to your work, and that your career has proven to be so successful around, Bob. How can we best connect our audience to you?
Well, I've got, wouldn't you know, a email and website. My email is bob@drbobnelson.com. That's DRBOBNELSON.com. So they can email me, or even call me directly, 858-218-5049 in San Diego, California, USA. Would be ways. I have a website. My website's had some glitches here lately, so it's been on and off, but it's www.drbobnelson.com. That's DRBOBNELSON.com. I have all my I've got an online store, and a lot of my books are on that store at discounted prices, cheaper than Amazon. Or
Cool.
You know, if you had and then, of course, the book is available wherever books are sold. My books at Work Made Fun Gets Done. Latest, the one before that, is 1,001 Ways to Engage Employees. And the one that most people know me for is 1,001 Ways to Reward Employees, now in the new edition, 1,501 Ways to Reward Employees. So those are...
And as you keep collecting them, the books are going to keep growing and evolving, I'm sure.
I guess, yeah. I guess it's an ongoing story.
You're probably the only guest we've ever had on an international show like ours to give away their phone number. So fantastic, and homage to you for that.
Yeah, no, I love hearing from people. I love helping people, and of course, if you have an opportunity that you'd like to, looking for a speaker for your organization, or for an event, or for your association, I still do a lot of that, and would love to help you out.
Awesome, Bob. We'll make sure those links and information's all in our show notes as well, so people can dive straight over to your website and have a look at some more of the stuff that you do. From my perspective, I just want to say thank you. It's been super fun. You've been really insightful, some great stories, and I'm just delighted that we're connected through this medium. And welcome to our broader community at the Leadership Hacker podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, Steve. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Bob. I want to sign off by saying a thank you to you for joining us on the show too. We recognise without you there is no show, so please continue to share, subscribe and like, and continue to get in touch with us with the great news stories that we share every week. And so that we can continue to bring you great stories, please make sure you give us a 5-star review where you can, and share this podcast with your friends, your teams and your communities. If you want to find us on social media, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter at Leadership Hacker, Leadership Hacker on YouTube, and on Instagram, _leadership_hacker. And if that wasn't enough, you can also find us on our website, leadership-hacker.com. Tune in to next episode to find out what great hacks and stories are coming your way. That's me signing off. I'm Steve Rush, and I've been your Leadership Hacker.